Hey y'all, I have a kind of important announcement to make at the end of this video. I'm gonna ramble about the announcement at the end, not now. But for now, I am back and I have more of your paranormal stories that I'm really nervous to read. One of these is about an Airbnb, like a haunted Airbnb, and it makes me so scared to travel. Like, I started reading the story and I was like, I'm never staying anywhere ever again. But we're gonna hop right in. That's not the first story. The first story is a generalized history of the haunting of my house. There's a picture included too. I looked at the picture. I have lots of short stories of my haunted house, so I thought I'd compile them all into one post. Note that I've lived in the same house my whole life, so I've become quite acquainted with the 3 entities that reside here. The earliest story I've been told was something my parents experienced when I was 18 months old. I was an awful sleeper as a kid, so it was not uncommon for me to get out of bed and wander around. My parents were downstairs watching TV when they heard the stairs creaking lightly as if somebody was coming down them. Then they heard footsteps running down the hallway and into the living room right in front of them. Although the footsteps came into the room they were in and they didn't see me, they still checked downstairs, and when they couldn't find me, they checked my room to find me sleeping. This was my first introduction to my not-so-imaginary friend, Panda. I remember playing with a girl around 6 to 7 who had long brown hair and pigtails and a Victorian-esque dress. I always thought she was an imaginary friend until a medium confirmed this was an actual entity I'd been playing with. Luckily, she is very peaceful and just likes to play. The next prevalent entity is the Black Man. He's always in our peripherals, and you can never quite see him fully. I have the most insane photo of him. My father and I have tried to recreate the photo but couldn't, so it left us absolutely stumped. My favorite story with him is when my little brother was about 3 and my dad went to wake him up. My brother sat in bed and my dad noticed he was looking behind him. My brother then waved and smiled, and my dad asked him who he was waving at. He replied, "The big black man." The next few stories, I can't tell you which one it was, but they're pretty spooky nonetheless. Both me and my dad have experienced the next 2 things a few times. Sometimes we will hear footsteps going up and down the stairs many times, and the next day we will ask if anyone had got up that night, only to be informed that they hadn't. We have super squeaky doorknobs, which we hear being turned at random hours in the night. This one freaks me out the most, but if you're laying in bed and someone sits on the end, the mattress dips and you can feel it. Sometimes I feel the same thing during the night, and I just have to lay there frozen until whatever it is gets up and leaves. My parents have experienced this one too. There was also an incident where I got out of bed to go to the bathroom, and as I walked past the stairs, I heard a loud whistle and footsteps running up the stairs. I'm fairly sure this was the 3rd entity, as it was definitely a female voice, but too mature to be Panda. I've had a hairband pinged at my face before, which was quite funny. A childhood friend of mine had a door slammed in her face, which was not so funny. Sometimes the room goes cold and smells strongly of lilies. Sometimes I'll put things down and find them in a different place to where I put it. I've woken up with unexplainable bruises and scratches. I'm probably missing a few stories, but those are the most notable. And then, here's the picture. Here's the picture that they posted. Like, dude, it's just so clearly like a person. And it could be, I don't know, it could be their dad. I don't know. It could be completely fake. But I'm gonna pretend and I'm going to imagine it is real. That is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Now we're gonna get into the Airbnb story. It says, paranormal Airbnb experience with the homies. Hi Courtney, before I start, I just want to say I love your videos and I've been watching you for about 2 to 3 years now. Hope you don't mind that this post is going to be semi-long. To start, the story takes place in a different state in which I traveled to meet up with internet friends. We've met up IRL before, so I completely trust them and their judgment. We rented out an Airbnb which had a few red flags, mainly a carpet bathroom, but that's not the main room in which I felt weird about. My friend E and I decided that for this trip we would take a room that had double beds and room together, since that's our thing we do on trips. I love E and consider them one of my closer best friends. I arrived at the Airbnb before E and found our room, which was in the basement. Upon entering the basement, I could immediately tell the energy was off. Something wasn't right. I turned to 2 other friends, N and O, and let them know that I felt like there was something off. I'd like to think I'm open to energies a little bit more. I also know when something is off due to having dealt with a bad spirit in my house when I was around 14 to 15. This is a different story I can get into if anyone wants. N and O just shrugged and tried to reassure me that it was just due to being tired after a lot of traveling and having gotten little sleep the night before. To be honest, this is what I chalked it up to. Leading up to the trip, I was binging a lot of your paranormal stories during work. I work as a housekeeper in a hotel, and I figured I just psyched myself out. Come time when E arrived, we didn't go to sleep until it was around 3 a.m. I was uneasy about going to sleep, but figured I'd be fine. We hopped into bed, I put on my AirPods to listen to sleep ASMR. Don't judge me, it's one of the few things that can actually put me to sleep while traveling. With the lights off though, I felt something was watching E and I. I tried to push it off, but the feeling was overwhelming, like something was present in the room. I like to think I just have an overactive mind, but I felt like something was at the end of my bed and I was worried I would feel a pressure on my legs. At some point, I did open my eyes. I swear to everything, I saw someone in the corner of the room staring at us. It was for a brief second before my eyes adjusted and nothing was there. I told myself it was just E's blanket that looked weird and I was paranoid. Eventually, I was able to sleep. I only slept for like 6 hours though before I woke up in a panic. I had awful nightmares and couldn't go back to sleep when I awoke. Groggy, I headed out to just get ready to hang out with my friends. E followed about a half an hour later, joining me and O in the basement with another friend of ours. We sat in silence before I decided to make breakfast. E and the other friend, we'll call him T for the sake of this part, followed. That's when I decided to bring up the previous night's experience for me. Immediately, E's eyes widened when I recounted feeling like something was watching us as we slept in the room, telling me to shut up. I thought they just didn't want to hear anything and they didn't want me making them paranoid. I couldn't have been more wrong. As it turns out, E had the exact same experience. They said they could see eyes watching us and the figure looking shadowy, their face sunken. Though I hadn't seen the thing for long, that was exactly the image I swear I saw as well. I had goosebumps as we realized we both had the exact same experience. I was relieved to say the least. T looked curious, and we just figured we'd talk about it later when the others who didn't want to hear about it weren't present. Later that night, O and N stepped into the room with E and I. We told them what we had seen, and E said they saw the thing with a mouth and sunken shadowy features along with eyes. N and O took us seriously, turning to look at the closet. They immediately said they didn't like the energy in the corner of the room, and N stepped into the closet that is right in said corner. He shook his head, letting us know he did not vibe with the energy emanating from the closet. We agreed and closed the closet. N said he would sage the room since he's Native American. Unfortunately, I did have to step back into the room to grab my laptop. I immediately looked at the closet and it made a creaking noise, almost as if someone or something was pushing against it. I just noped out of the room, shaking my head and letting O know what happened. As I'm writing this, the experience happened today. So it's pretty recent and I'll keep everyone updated on what happens. We're here for the whole weekend. I just don't want people to worry here in our friend group. I'm just glad I'm not the only one who had this experience. Even another one of our friends had slept the whole day, which is weird for them. I'm worried it's because of whatever is in this house, if there is anything. They're in the room next to E and I in the basement. Again, sorry this is semi-long, but I plan on keeping everyone updated on what happens if anything else happens tonight. I've decided I won't talk to whatever's in our room because I don't want it to attach itself to E or I. Anyways, hope everyone has a great night, and if there's any advice anyone has, it'd be much appreciated. And there's an update. Things escalated in that Airbnb, and not in a great way. The second night we stayed in the Airbnb, we closed the closet that was in our room. We figured that the closet was the source of the issue, so it was a no-brainer that we should just keep the place closed. E put their backpack on the closet door so nothing would be able to open it. That night, E only got 2 hours of sleep while I got around 5. That morning, E and I ended up asking N to sage the place. To our dismay, there's a rule of no smoking or smoke or weed in the house, so N was unable to sage the place, but he took us out to the driveway where he performed a Native American ritual that was supposed to cleanse our souls and bodies of whatever was in that room. We immediately felt better. I was feeling nauseous all night and that morning, but E had it worse. They had their head on my shoulder trying to keep from throwing up. The ritual helped us feel better, but only for a short time. Later that day, we could feel whatever was in that closet was pissed. It wasn't happy with the ritual, and it wasn't happy we closed the closet. E tried taking a nap on the sofa and reported feeling the spirit or whatever this thing is standing at the doorway of our room, watching them. And then E said they felt the spirit right next to them, staring down at E. I had to step into the room to grab my hairbrush and heard a knocking coming from inside that closet. There was absolutely no way nothing could hit the door, as it was empty. I ended up taking a nap in O's room after that. I asked T and O if I could, seeing as I felt like this thing was following me everywhere in the house. Luckily, I was able to talk to my ex. Some background on my ex and I. I'm a Hellenistic polytheist? Bitch, I don't know how to say that. Which means I believe and worship the Greek pantheon, while my ex works with other pantheons such as Norse and Roman. I reached out to ask how to deal with this, seeing as they're a lot more spiritual than I am. My ex recommended a protective rune that should help keep E and I safe as long as we kept it under our pillows. I can link a picture of the rune or send it to anyone if they're interested. My ex also recommended praying to a few of the Roman and Greek gods of protection to help E and I stay safe. My ex made sure to make it known that we had to do what we could because the spirit could latch onto us and it would be downhill from there if it did. After our talk, I took my ex's advice and I let E know what we should do. I drew a few runes on paper and discreetly handed them out. There were and are people in the Airbnb who didn't want to hear about it, and we respect that. I wanted to keep things as down low as possible. That night we slept in the living room as the overwhelming sense of dread and anger was stronger than ever. I should also mention my ex instructed me to put the protective rune against the closet to keep that thing weakened. Before E and I went to bed, we did end up praying as instructed by my ex. E said they felt dizzy, so I didn't push them any further than I was comfortable with. I was just hoping things would die down, which it didn't. That night we drifted off to bed. E and I both felt that spirit move upstairs, walking around the living room. It was in the dining room and the hallway that leads to the front door. We both chose to ignore this, and I was eventually able to fall asleep once I felt the space was safe. E said they felt protective barriers around the room go up, and they said they never felt a prayer be answered so fast in their life. I'm choosing to believe the gods we prayed to heard our prayers and helped us be safe that night. N from earlier said he felt the presence move to his room, but he wasn't afraid. In his words, the motherfucker is stuck with me, not the other way around. We do love N and his fearlessness. The final night we stayed in the house was the worst. The presence was angry. It followed us wherever we went. One of my other friends stayed in the room with me while I packed up my suitcase since we were due to leave the Airbnb the next morning. This friend we'll call R. R said the vibes were off and weird, and they didn't like being alone down in our room. T stepped into our room, looking down at the floor, glancing at the closet door that remained closed, and said, "No, I don't like the vibes in here," before walking away. T asked me later to pray for his room and his space and asked for the same runes E and I had. R also asked for a rune just in case. I was more than happy to comply because I wanted to keep my friends safe on the final night. E and I repeated our actions from the night before, praying and keeping our protection close to us. The overwhelming sense of dread filled the living room from the dining room. I made a comment about how it was in the dining room, and R said they were choosing to not look back. It's crazy to think how E and I knew where it was. It wasn't trying to hide anymore. It was angry. Thankfully, the protective barriers went up just like the previous night. We were able to sleep without issue, and by morning we were on our merry way. I just had to grab the rune that was against the closet. As soon as I picked it up and pocketed it, I felt so sick and gross. I felt dreadful. I don't really know how to describe it, just that the presence of the spirit was powerful and upsetting. The only abnormal thing to happen after is E left later than I did. They said the washing machine turned on randomly in the basement while the door to the laundry room was locked. I can only think it was the spirit or demon or whatever it was. While I miss my friends, I'm not gonna miss the Airbnb we stayed in. There were moments where the door that led into the room was opened, and I know I closed the door all the way. I can only hope that the spirit, if it is that, finds peace and leaves the tenants alone. And to the future tenants of that Airbnb, I hope they don't piss that thing off. Dude, like, that makes me never want to stay anywhere again. Like, I know I said that at the beginning, but that is terrifying. Like, because you never know. When you're staying at an Airbnb, I mean, you have no fucking idea what you're getting yourself into. If that were to happen to me, no. Okay, and I'm gonna read one more because this one's kind of short. It says, "It was standing on my bed." Hey Court, my name is Micah, and my pronouns are he, they. I have a good amount of stories from a lot of different places. I've posted them on the subreddit before, but I can always repost them compiled if you'd like. On Friday, May 27th, I was getting ready to go to sleep. For some reason, this night was very weird because as I laid there, I heard my dad shouting for me. It was like it was from a distance and sounded like it was downstairs. It didn't fully sound like him, so I ignored it. After that, I had this looming sense of dread. Like my skin felt cold from the overall vibe I was feeling in my room, and the hair on my arm was raised. I get sixth sense vibes a lot, like most people do when at least one of their senses is cut off, so I tried to pretend it wasn't there. This feeling, accompanied with sounds as if the closet door had been closed, only worsened. It felt like there was something watching me in the corner of my room. I could feel it. It felt absolutely malicious. It hated me for reasons I couldn't even think to tell you. I was trying to pretend like I was asleep already, so I wasn't moving that much. I was just on my back when suddenly I felt the movement on my bed. You know that feeling when you sense pressure on your bed, like as if somebody else sat on your bed? I felt that kind of dip in my mattress as if somebody or something was standing there between my legs. It wasn't moving at all. It was just there. I refused to open my eyes. I knew that opening my eyes could lead to seeing something I didn't want to see. I kept them shut as much as I could. That said, I decided in doing something that I haven't done in a while. I decided to fall back onto old beliefs and pray. I'm not a religious person much anymore. I stopped going to church and identified closer to agnostic than Christian, but in that moment, I was more devout and faithful than any regular on a Sunday. And the second I finished up on it, the weight vanished entirely. The presence in the corner of my room was gone. I don't know entirely what I did. I'm still not a praying type even after that. All I know is that whatever that was will either come back or it never left, as if it's still waiting. That's the end of the story. As I said, I've posted more, but this happened so recently that I had to tell you. Let me know if you'd like those stories at all. The last house I lived in was very haunted. I've gotten my mom to admit that not too long ago. Yeah, if you want to like repost your stories, because my thing is when I go to the subreddit, I look at the most recent because I'm really lazy. So if you want to like repost your story or if you want to put them all together, I mean, you can do whatever you want. That's totally fine. I could also look at your username and try to find the story that way. But if you want to compile all the stories together, that's totally up to you. Just depends on, because I'm not going to be like, yeah, you have to do that. For me, you have to, because it's literally up to you. Like if you want to take the time to do that, you totally can. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But I know exactly what you're talking about when you feel that dip in your bed. Okay, so last night, I don't know what it was. I was having a dream, a weird dream. And okay, so in the dream, I was sleeping and then somebody got in my bed with me, but I swear it actually felt like someone got in the bed with me. So in my dream, it was like someone like laid down, whatever, and it wasn't like scary. It wasn't a scary dream. It was just like someone came and was going to bed. But I swear it actually felt like someone was laying next to me. So like, I totally get that. It's such a weird feeling and it's so scary. I mean, my situation is definitely not comparable because it was just a dream versus like an actual paranormal experience, but whatever. I just felt like telling that story, I guess. That is all I'm gonna read for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other stories you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. I'm gonna ramble probably quite a bit at the end of this, so I'm gonna go. But I love you guys. Also, I have fuzzy pants on. Do you like my fuzzy pants? I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye. So I'm actually like a little bit sad to say this, but I'm also really excited. I'm moving out of my house. I'm moving to an apartment. I am downsizing. If you guys didn't know, I used to live with 2 other people, and so having this house made a lot more sense. It's a really big house for just one person, and so it made a lot of sense when I was living with other people, but they both moved out, and I just don't need all this space, and it's like overwhelming. Like, it's so overwhelming to have this much space. Like, I cannot keep it clean. So I am downsizing. I am moving back to an apartment, and I'm actually really excited. I'm excited to have less space, which is weird, but I'm also kind of like stressed because I have to sell so much stuff because I have so much stuff. And so I have like, because this is like a 4-bedroom plus a den, so like a 5-bedroom house. And I'm moving to a 2-bedroom apartment, so I have to sell like most of my furniture, most of it. But yeah, I am moving. I'm really excited to move because right now I live in the middle of nowhere. I absolutely hate the location of this house. I love this house, and I'm gonna be really sad to leave this house because I love this house. I hate the location of it. It sucks fucking ass. It is awful. The closest grocery store to me is like 15 minutes away. It's so bad. Like gas, if I have to get gas, I have to drive like 20 minutes out of my way, like just to get gas. So the location of this house really sucks, and I'm not near anyone. Like, I am so far from all of my friends, from my sister. I'm so far from everybody. And the place that I'm moving to is so close to everybody, and I'm so excited. But I'm moving like really soon, like really, really soon. So I don't know if I'll have a video next week. It just depends on how packing goes, because I am moving like really soon. If I end up moving next week, I don't know if I'll have a video. I'm gonna try to have at least one. So if my videos are weird in the next couple of weeks, that's why, because I'm stressed. I get really overwhelmed really easily. But I'm moving. I am moving out of this house, so say goodbye. Say bye-bye. You might see 1 more video or 2 more videos in this house. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm moving. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys. And you would have found out anyways, because I would have been filming in a different location. So whatever. But yeah, so that's all I wanted to tell you. But I'm gonna go because my throat really hurts. I don't know if you could tell how like raspy and dry my throat is right now. I'm gonna go. Love you guys so much. See ya!